What's up, y'all? It's your guy eBay Fight Predictions in the building, and this is your UFC Vegas 80 Grant Dawson versus Bobby Green full card predictions breakdown. Talking the whole card, really fun card. I love this card, and I just honestly can't wait for it. I know a lot of people are hating on this card, but there's a lot of good fights on this card, and I think the main event. I'll say it again. I said this like in my breakdown video. A lot of people were complaining about the main event, but just a year ago, you guys were crying and petitioning for Bobby Green main events, and they gave it to you. So I know it's Grant Dawson, but he legitimately might be the better out of the five little group of called the New Generation. I think Gamrot leads that army, but you never forget Garam Kudelidze. What's the other fucking what's his name? Well, I forgot his name, man. That's my boy Damir Ismagulov, Arman Sarukian, obviously Gamrot, Rafael Fiziev, all those guys, and Grant Dawson he's elevating himself to a level where he can fight a Bobby Green, and we've seen Bobby Green give guys like Fiziev problems, and he's a good fighter, and he's coming off a good win. So I think the main event is going to be a really good fight, and I just don't get the complaints. Now, obviously, I know Belbiţă 300, the copyright organization, are doing their thing that week, but I think this is going to end up being I could be eating crow, but when we look back and we're like, which was a better card? Obviously, Sergio versus Patchy Mix is something to look forward to. That I might actually end up watching. But besides that, though, this card might beat it, man. Just don't be surprised, man. This might end up being a really fun card. You know what they always say? It's always the ones you don't expect end up being a really good card. But my main point is, though, don't hate on it before you watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least give it a chance. But hey, it is what it is. Let's get into this card. But before we get into it, though, go follow me on my Instagram and my Twitter. Like, comment, share the video. Let's get this eBay Fight Prediction Nation going. But yeah. So let's talk about the first fight of the night. Montana Del Rosa versus JJ Aldrich. Classic grappler versus striker matchup here. Obviously, Del Rosa is going to be looking for the takedown here. Coming off a 2-fight losing streak. Coming off losses to Tatiana Suarez and Macy Barber. JJ just won her last fight against Nia Long via ground and pound. I'm actually rocking Del Rosa here. I do know that JJ Aldrich has good takedown defense. She's shown it, but I think Montana Del Rosa is a way better wrestler than Nia Long, and I actually think she's a better wrestler than Jillian Robertson. I know JJ Aldrich's last loss was to Erin Blanchfield and Irene Lipsky, but I think I'm a fan of Montana Del Rosa. I like how she wrestles, how she goes out there, grapples. Tough, gritty girl, and she's a little longer too, as a 1-inch reach advantage coming into this. So I think if she can get her against the fence, the clinch, just kind of keep her against there, get her takedowns, work her wrestling game, and get some top time, I think she can win this fight. It might be close, 29-28, but I think Montana Del Rosa will get the 2 rounds needed to get the victory. So I got Del Rosa by decision here. So yeah, next fight, Nate Maness versus Mateus Mendonça. This is gonna be a good scrap, man. Both guys are strikers, and it felt like both guys fought a level of competition in their last fight, especially, that they probably should have never fought. I think this is a fairer fight. Nate Maness fought the whole entire little Khabib clan. Tagir and Blekov, and then Umar Nurmagomedov back to back, especially at a new weight class too. The guy hits hard, man. I'll never forget that Tony Gravely fight. Loses the first round and goes out there and fucking smokes him. So he has a weird style, kind of strikes a little weird, but he's tough, he's gritty. I don't know maybe if he's depleting himself a little too much in this new weight class, but he is a gritty, tough, comeback kind of fighter. Mateus Mendonça, last fight was against Javid Basrat. Obviously, a level of competition he should have never fought, but the guy has power, man. I really do believe that. He hits hard. He does strike hard. So it's a tough fight. He's the younger guy here, and he has a lot of potential. I think this is gonna be really gritty. I think Mendonça could lose this fight, but I don't know. I have a weird feeling. I'm rocking with Nate Maness here. I think Nate Maness, the chin does worry me at the new weight class, but I learned my lesson in the Tony Gravely fight. I could eat crow here, but I'm rocking with Nate Maness. I think it's going to be a fucking scrap. I think it's going to be a barn burner. I think both these guys are going to hurt each other, but I think Nate might come out on top. You never know. He's really awkward. I think that's his thing, is his awkwardness, and it really fucks guys up. And Mendonça seems more of like a technical guy. So I got Nate Maness actually by second round TKO. So that's the pick right there. Next fight, Kanako Murata versus Vanessa's Demopoulos. Murata is returning. The biceps of Murata. strong wrestler, really good wrestler. Last fight she fought Verna Janaroba. Obviously it was the jiu-jitsu, ended up going on top of wrestling that day. But besides that though, I think Vanessa Demopoulos, she had a little nice run where she won on the 3-fight win streak, but I mean, she's kind of like armbar or bust basically, and she lost her fight to Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I think Morata can do the same thing here. I think she can get on top, lay and pray, and kind of get the victory. I mean, she's been out for a minute. I mean, it's been 2 years damn near since the arm break or shoulder break. I remember that fight was kind of crazy, and the fight kept going too. She had like a little fucked up arm basically, and she kept fighting. Tough girl, but I just think Morata can get the takedowns here and get the top time if needed. So I got Morata by decision. Next fight, Johnny Munoz Jr. versus Aoriqileng. Great fight here. Obviously, it's going to be, again, another kind of striker versus wrestler matchup. Johnny Munoz Jr. has been a supporter of the eBay Fight Predictions channel. So I like Johnny Munoz Jr. There's a little bit of bias here coming from me. But I do think he is the better fighter here. I know he's on a bit of a weird run, but, I mean, he loses one, he wins one. But I thought his first fight I ever saw him against Nate Maness, funnily enough, I thought he won. It was a weird little, I think, point deduction that kind of killed him. But good grappler. Doesn't have the best chin in the world. I will admit that. Durability isn't the best, but I mean, if he can get under those legs, I mean, if he can get his wrestling game going on, then the striking won't matter. Aoriqileng, I mean, he's good. Knockout power, fucking comes forward. You know, he has that, you know, has that mentality to just like, let's brawl. He's a fun fighter to watch, but at the same time, he does take too much damage, and that's kind of what led to his last knockout loss. But I don't think Johnny Munoz Jr. is going to go out there stand and bang with this guy. So, yeah, and then Munoz is obviously coming off that loss to Daniel Santos, and I think Daniel Santos is the truth. So, no shame in any of those losses, honestly. I mean, Daniel Santos, Tony Gravely, who's a good fighter, and Nate Maness. So, all those guys are solid. I'm rocking with Johnny Munoz Jr. here by decision. We've seen guys like fucking Cody Durden get a victory over Aoriqileng. If he can get the wrestling game going on, I think Munoz can definitely win this fight. Next fight, Chris Gutierrez versus Montel Jackson. Big fight for Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson's first ranked opponent. I, for some reason, have never been too high on Mr. Jackson himself. I've kind of felt like, you know, guys can beat him. I was really, I thought Julio Arce was going to do it. I really did. I thought Julio just mixed in the wrestling and the striking. I thought he could do it. I really did. But, you know, he kind of made me a believer. He hits hard. Chris Gutierrez, I've never been too high on him. Obviously, the Pedro Munoz fight is what it is. But, I mean, go look at that Cody Durden fight. I mean, look how close that was. Look at the Andre Ewell fight. If this guy isn't attacking your lead leg and he isn't cutting you down like that, he's kind of at a disparity in the boxing range, in my humble opinion. I don't think he can't box, but I think he doesn't have the best hands. So yeah, I lean towards Montel Jackson here. That's kind of my first initial lean. I'm gonna say Montel Jackson by decision. I've always kind of wanted to fade Gutierrez. He's a good fucking fighter though. I just think the power of Jackson is going to be a problem. I think knockdowns are going to be really big in this fight, and I think it's going to go to decision. Gutierrez is tough enough, but it's going to be really the chin of Chris Gutierrez and the legs of Montel Jackson, and who can hold up a little longer will really decide who wins this fight. El Guapo is going to attack that lead leg, and Montel Jackson is going to be looking for the knockdowns. So yeah, I got Jackson here. I think the knockdowns will prevail. Next fight, Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Diana Belbiţă. Good fight in the strawweight division. I like the fight. I mean, you know, respect to Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She went on a big losing streak. Now she's on a win streak. I'm really happy for her. She's 37 years old. And I mean, they're giving her some favorable matchups here, so I'm actually happy that she's getting that. I just think the experience, obviously the lack of talent from Daniel Belbiţă, to be honest with you. I know she's coming off a win over Maria Oliveira, but I haven't really been too impressed with her. You know, I mean, her last wins are to Hannah Goldie and Maria Oliveira. You know, it doesn't say too much, but I think Karolina Kowalkiewicz, with her experience, with her toughness, she's gonna be looking for that Muay Thai clinch, the takedowns, the top time. I would say Karolina's. It's hard to say who's the better minute winner here, but I would say as of recent, Karolina's looked like she's the better minute winner here. I got Karolina Kowalkiewicz by decision here, getting the victory, so it should be an interesting fight. Next fight, Bill Algeo versus Alexander Hernandez. This is the fight I've been kind of hyped up for. Both guys are fucking fun fighters to watch. These are two guys you just don't want to miss their fights. Bill Algeo has never been in a boring fight in his life. He's coming off one over TJ Brown in a fucking scrap. Last loss was to Andre Philipe, which was a scrap too. Close fight. Has wins over Herbert Burns, Joe Anderson Brito, which is actually kind of aged well, and does have a loss to Ricardo Ramos. So yeah, that is something to think about. But Hernandez, on the other hand, he's weird. He beats Jim Miller at lightweight, but when he went down to fucking featherweight, which I made a breakdown on this, and I was so confident he was gonna beat Billy Quarantillo, he loses. Dominant first round, looks amazing. Wrestling was just looking crazy good, and he does what he normally does, and he quits. I have never been a big fan of Alexander Hernandez since last year. I started liking this kid because I think people over-hate on him a little bit now at this point of his life. I get it, you know, he disrespected Benny. I'm not a fan of that, I will admit that. But I will say one thing, though, in his defense. He has been through it all. He has been through the losses, the humiliation, all of it. And he's still going at it. He's still going strong. I like the kid. I was listening to an interview with him, you know, I'm like, you know, I'm rooting for him. I actually want to see him win. I don't want him to see him be a bust, basically, at this point in his career. And I do think he's talented. He has all the talent in the world, man. I really do. The speed, the athleticism, the wrestling, everything he needs to be a successful fighter, he has. But it's these weird, I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say he doesn't have the mentality, but it's this weird lack of toughness or durability, whatever you want to call it, that he has. That he just cannot persevere sometimes. And I felt like against Miller, he showed us something, you know. He showed a little bit of grit. And I was actually happy for him in that performance. He showed the jab. But I think the wrestling here is going to be big for Hernandez. I know the weight cut it's going to be something I'm thinking about. But if he masters this weight cut perfectly, you go watch the Lamas fight with fucking Bill Algeo. And Lamas was like 1,000 years old by that time. I think Hernandez can replicate that. I think Hernandez can put on a wrestling clinic. He just cannot get hurt. Algeo doesn't hit as hard as Billy Quarantillo. I will admit that. I think Billy has a little more pop than Algeo. So I think Hernandez could be safe. The only issue is Hernandez getting tired. That's the biggest issue. But I think, man, 15 minutes. I know it's a bit of a gamble, but you're better off picking Hernandez by finish. But I say Bill Algeo will not beat Hernandez. And I think Hernandez will win this fight via decision, via wrestling clinic that he put, and which is aged beautifully for him because the guy's doing well at PFL, like he did against OAM. So I think Hernandez puts on a wrestling clinic for a decision victory over Bill Algeo. Next fight, Philipe Lins versus Ian Cutelaba. I love my guy Ian, man. Ian is my boy, man. But I'm actually gonna be picking against him. I think Philipe Lins is the side here. I know Philipe Lins has been knocked out a few times at heavyweight, but it seems like ever since he's went down to light heavyweight, he's kind of found his new stride. I know he's 38 years old, but I think the length and the size of him is going to be an issue for Ian. I love Ian. I really do love Ian. Don't get it twisted. That's my dog. But I just got to kind of pick a little smart here. Obviously, Ian just won his last fight, and you know, he has some hype right now, but he does what he normally does. He'll probably lose his next fight, right? I think the length of Lins and the fight IQ of Lins is going to shine here. I think he won't make the same mistakes that he made in his Tanner Boser loss, you know, and his Andrei Arlovski loss. I think he's going to use his range. I think he's going to be a good counter striker, meticulous in how he goes for it. And I got Philipe Lins here getting the decision victory. So over Ian Cutelaba. Next fight, Drew Dober versus Ricky Glenn. I got Drew Dober here. I know Dober is coming off a KO loss to Matt Frivola, but levels of competition is just not the same. Ricky Glenn is good. I like Ricky. He's a tough fighter. He gave Grant Dawson hell. A lot of people forget that. But I think this is not gonna be Drew Dober going for a bunch of takedowns. I think that was a matchup dependent kind of fight, and we saw in his fight against Christos Gagos, where when Christos Gagos decided to stand and bang, actually it kind of went the different way. Ricky Glenn's a little stiff. He's stationary. He hits hard, don't get it twisted. We saw what he did to Joaquin Silva, but he's not as flowy. He's not as what's the word, as explosive, as athletic as a guy like Drew Dober. Drew Dober is going to be bouncing around, moving around. He's going to be changing angles and attacking you from different spots. He's going to attack the body, attack the head, and go for those kind of knockouts, right? And I got just Drew Dober by second round TKO. I think it's going to be a good fight. You got to love every time Drew Dober gets in a scrap. But yeah, man, Bobby Green's father is on the card, y'all. Next fight, Alex Morono versus Joaquin Buckley. This is a fucking fight, man. I like Buckley at 170. He looked really good in his last fight, but again, it was against Andre Fialho. At this point, Andre Fialho is just a meme at this point. It's just getting KO'd left and right. Morono's a good fighter, man. Morono just beat Fialho's pops, Tim Means, which is hilarious. But I mean, he was on his way to becoming a ranked welterweight last year. It was 9 months ago against Santiago Ponzinibbio. He was winning the whole fight, and he got caught with a really great shot from Ponzinibbio. And obviously, that's how good of a veteran and of a fighter Ponzi is to catch somebody like that. But I mean, Morono was on his way to becoming ranked. Besides that, he was on a really big win streak. Wins over Matthew Sellensberger, Mickey Gall, and David Zawada. And Morono, he's weird. I don't think I look at him and he doesn't look like anything imposing. And yeah, I know he lost to Chaos Williams, a teammate of Joaquin Buckley, a guy that smoked him. Maybe a little bit of teammate to teammate energy might come through, and Joaquin Buckley can replicate the same thing. But when you really look at it, I mean, Morono's the better wrestler. It's hard to say he's the better striker, because I know Buckley has the knockouts, right? And people might disagree, but when you talk about who's the better minute winner in terms of striking, I say Morono. Buckley takes way too many chances. He leaves himself a little open. I won't say Morono doesn't do the same thing, but Morono's awkward. And that's the thing. Buckley kind of fights a little more technical. I know it's like, how is he fighting more technical? But he's not doing these weird little like arm parries where he's like karate chopping other people's punches and fucking like parrying it for defense. Like Buckley fights as more of a technical, traditional, aggressive, pressure fighter. He's a pressure fighter, and when you talk about other pressure fighters, they normally fight like that. Obviously, Buckley, he has moments where he probably should have kept his hand up a little more, but besides that, Buckley fights like a traditional pressure fighter. I don't think he does anything wrong. A lot of Mike Tyson oriented stuff he brings in the octagon. Sometimes he tries to replicate. He throws a lot of high kicks. He moves a lot. So I think there's a good chance of him knocking out Morono. Yeah, I do. But I honestly think Morono has the wrestling edge here, if he does want to take it down there. And I also do think the awkwardness of Morono is going to be a really big problem for Buckley. I don't know if he's going to be able to make those reads, be able to really, catch on to Morono's style. It's kind of tough, actually. So I think Morono actually wins this fight. So I got Morono actually by submission. Actually, I'm gonna say he submits him in the 3rd round. I think it's gonna be a good scrap though. Next fight, Joe Pyfer versus Razak Alhassan. I'm rocking with Joe Pyfer here by, I could say submission, but I think Abdul is pretty tough. And I say Pyfer by decision here. I think Pyfer, he's showing a lot of good striking, but I think his ace is his grappling, and I think he'll show that against Razak Alhassan. I think a lot of people forget about what Jacob Malkoun did to Alhassan. That's a fight I forget every day that even happened, but it did happen, and I think Pyfer's going to replicate something like that. Big takedowns, a lot of wrestling, and I think a decision win here. I think Pyfer, he's a good prospect to look forward to as a middleweight. I don't think I talk about him a lot. I like his explosive striking. I like how he throws his combination punching. I like a lot of things he does actually in there. But number one thing I feel about Joe Pyfer is he's not Brendan Allen. That's just it. He's not Brendan Allen. So you know, he's never going to be that prospect, but in terms of what he can bring, I think he's going to be a really good boxer, wrestler, or jiu-jitsu kind of player. But that's kind of where it comes down to. There's no other intricacies of his game that's, you know, his kicking game or a high level wrestling game that he brings. But he's a good jiu-jitsu player. He's a good decent grappler, decent wrestler, and has decent hands, and that's what he brings. I think ceiling, lower top 15 is his ceiling, but good fighter though, really good fighter. I like him. Philadelphia boy. So yeah. And in the main event, I got a breakdown on this, so go check that out. I'm not going to go too in-depth about Grant Dawson and Bobby Green, but I will be promising if Bobby Green goes out here and gets demolished, we are doing a Bobby Green pack watch. I just dislike Bobby Green and his fangirls. And it's nothing against him beating Tony Ferguson. I ain't no Tony fan, but just in general, you're lucky I didn't do one after the Drew Dober fight. That was the perfect one, but hey, you snooze, you lose. But Grant Dawson, the American wrestler, is going to teach Bobby Green a valuable lesson in life, a valuable lesson about wrestling, and I think he's going to spell it out for him in this fight. And I got Grant Dawson here by decision or 5th round TKO. I'm rocking with decision. I think it's going to be a good fight. Do I think Grant Dawson is fade material? Yeah, I do. I mean, Jared Gordon fight was close. Leonardo Santos fight was very close. But besides that being a fact, I do not think Bobby Green is him. And I think Grant Dawson is at a level where, I mean, he deserves respect. The Demir Smagulov fight deserves some respect. He went out there and not only just dominated Demir, he fucking made it like he dominated him bad. Like, it was like they shouldn't have been in the same goddamn octagon. It was like a white belt fighting a black belt in terms of grappling, and I was really shocked that happened to Demir. So it is what it is. I got Grant Dawson getting the victory here. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go follow me on my Instagram and my Twitter. Like, comment, and share the video. Let's get this eBay Fight Prediction Nation growing. I will be streaming, just to let you guys know that I will be streaming. But yeah, love y'all and goodbye.
I'm gonna go check that out. And hey, subscribe to eBay's Fight Prediction. Let's keep the eBay Fight Predictions Nation growing.
Rankings other than champion rankings are really just made up. It really doesn't matter. We just saw at 125 a debut guy come in and fight the top 10 in the world and win. So rankings to me doesn't make any difference. I'm not fighting backwards in this fight. I'm not fighting forward. I'm just fighting. That's what it is. Islam Makhachev got a title shot off of beating Bobby Green. So anything can happen in this sport. Bobby Green, you know, if I'm not on my game and if I don't respect him like he deserves to be respected, I'm going to be looking up at him off of my back, getting woken up by the referee. I know how dangerous he is. I know how much experience he has. I know what a big following he has. I am ready for a very, very competitive and a very, very strong fight. I don't like it when people are like, oh, you're fighting behind. There is no fighting behind. We're just fighting. That's it. The only spot that matters is who's champion. That is really the only thing that matters.